Well, the first ever Esports World Cup is happening in Saudi Arabia with over 1,500 gamers competing for a piece of a record prize pool of $60 million. It's all part of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's plan to turn Riyadh into a global gaming hub under his Vision 2030 economic agenda. So for more on this story, we're joined by Christine Burke, our Saudi bureau chief. Christine, tell us more about this event and how does it fit into Vision 2030? Esports doesn't typically come up when we talk about Vision 2030 and what the Crown Prince is trying to achieve.
No, it doesn't. But as with most things Saudi Arabia is doing these days, it has gone big on the Esports World Cup. So this is an event that features 21 different game titles, and we'll see gamers from more than 100 nations competing over the course of 8 weeks. And let's talk about that record prize pool that you mentioned, $60 million. Just to put that into perspective a little bit, that is triple what professional golf players competed for in the PGA golf tournament in the month of May. And I think that really speaks to how close of an initiative esports are to the heart of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He himself is an avid gamer, and almost 70% of the Saudi population consider themselves to be gamers as well. So I think what the Crown Prince is trying to do here is really kind of tap into the passions of the people, if you will, while also serving his broader Vision 2030 agenda. So his goal specifically is to transform Saudi Arabia into a major esports hub. It wants the kingdom to host 250 gaming companies here by 2030, and wants to see Saudi developers developing dozens of homegrown games. And all of that, in his mind, will lead to esports contributing more than $13 billion to GDP by 2030.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sizable number. And you've got to think they're not just looking to attract the gaming companies and the gamers, but also brands, sponsorship. So let's talk about the economics of this. Is this push into esports something we expect to be continually profitable for the Saudis?
We actually spoke to the Saudis last week directly on this issue, and we asked them that question, and the response from them was that there are plans in place to make esports, and specifically the Esports World Cup, profitable for the kingdom, but that those plans are longer term and that they are still very much being worked out. So I think it's clear that Saudi Arabia recognizes some of the challenges that are facing the esports industry, and it's willing to kind of play a bit of the longer term game here. I think the more prescient question is how important Saudi Arabia can become in the global esports arena. Already, the Esports World Cup was shrouded in a little bit of controversy, particularly in the West. We saw some esports celebrities, some esports fan boycotting this event as they criticized Saudi Arabia for its lack of LGBTQ rights. So I think it's clear there will be challenges in turning a profit, and also it will be interesting to see if Saudi Arabia can overcome some of that backlash and turn this event into a success that means it carries more weight globally in the esports space.
Yeah, I remember back at Qatar Economic Forum, I had a conversation with the Saudi tourism minister, and they reminded me that their goal was to host 150 million tourists by 2030. That's 10% of GDP. And today we're out with a story saying that they're doing something else to get there, and that is by turning royal palaces into luxury hotels. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, this was a fun story to report on. I really did truly have a lot of fun. So there is a company here in Saudi Arabia called Boutique Group. They are wholly owned and funded by Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund called the PIF. And what they are specifically doing is taking royal palaces that are located in Riyadh and in Jeddah and turning them into ultra luxury resorts. So essentially what they are trying to do is create a first of its kind experience for tourists that are visiting Saudi Arabia, where they can go to these royal palaces and feel what it was like to live like a Saudi royal. They'll also be immersed in Saudi culture while also getting this luxury experience. So the very first palace is called the Red Palace. It's set to open in 2025, at the end of 2025 to be exact, and it is located right here in the capital of Riyadh.